Happy. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to our March 10th, 2025 regular meeting. The time is now 6 p.m. Madam Secretary.
Kamal,
Here.
Kennard,
Present.
McCarthy,
Present.
Davis,
Here.
Rogers is present, Laster,
Present.
and Piles is excused. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Can we stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the March 10th, 2025 meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been motioned by Laster, supported by Rogers. Any discussion? Roll call.
Laster,
Yes.
Rogers, yes. Kennard,
Yes.
Kamal,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. We are now at public comment.
None.
Seeing none, moving forward. We now have a presentation from the TLP team, the Partnership District 19-month benchmark review summary presentation by Ms. Janelle Edwards.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As part of the partnership agreement, we completed an 18-month benchmark review. This review consisted of presenting to a panel which included members of the Michigan Department of Education and Wayne Risa on our progress of our partnership agreement. We are here tonight to present to you the results of the review, inform you of the supports that were put in place leading to obtaining the scores, and next steps for continuous improvement. The partnership agreement team consists of Dr. Benjamin Edmondson, superintendent, myself, Janelle Edwards, interim director of teaching, learning, and professional development, Scott Rourke, our data coach, Seth Petty, high school principal, Wendy Grish, RVLC supervisor, Mark Graham, RCS grants consultant, Nakia Irby, Wayne Risa, educational improvement consultant, and Paul Schumer, the Michigan Department of Education partnership agreement liaison. The partnership agreement includes our 3 MyKid goals stated as follows. Literacy, the percentage of RCS full-year academic students scoring proficient or advanced on the state assessment in ELA will increase by June 30th, 2025. Math, the percentage of RCS full-year academic students scoring proficient or advanced on the state assessment in mathematics will increase by June 30th, 2025. Professional learning. The district will develop and implement a professional learning system to ensure that staff and leadership will have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities to support the learning outcome of all students. We presented our interim benchmark progress under each goal for each building in the partnership agreement. This is based off of the assessment taken in April of 2024. Ms. Wendy Grish will go over the strategies in place prior to the assessment in literacy, math, and professional learning for RVLC, and Principal Petty for the high school.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First thing we did is we got our students back to being pre-assessed using NWEA. That hadn't been done in a few years, and so that gave us baseline data to work with. We also gave them instruction on basic writing techniques, and we had them practice standardized testing. Principal Petty?
Yeah. For Romulus High School, we invested a lot in new ELA curriculum, which was adopted last year in social studies, science, math, and ELA. We also develop assessment teams, knowing that we have to use because of the necessary planning. We have 2 lead teachers who are department heads who spend a lot of time around testing along with our counseling department. And we also have invested a lot of time in assessing and determining our NWEA growth data, to look at where are those targeted areas of improvement. Last year, we did a lot of special events and grade level assemblies to support and to encourage and to motivate our students to reach higher levels. We also have had support from our TLP instructional specialists who provide ELA support for our 4 new ELA teachers who were hired this year in reaching our targets and understanding our expectations.
All right, in math, similar what we did for literacy, but we also had tutoring on site with a certified math teacher. Principal Petty?
Last year, we were able to we had a math coach who came on site for half of the year, but on the second semester, we've been able to partner with Big Ideas to continue to provide individualized professional development for our math department. It's been very important to look at how we can vertically align our standards and assessment expectations, with also ensuring that students are exposed to a high-level curriculum. One of the things we do want to determine with both ELA and math curriculums, which were both purchased, was to determine whether or not they are impactful and that they're long-term supporting the needs of our students. As is done with all of our assessments and was stated previously, we have an assessment team. They work tremendously hard. Mrs. Geraldo and Mr. Capala, along with our counselor, Mrs. Strong, in developing those processes. And as I said, we also work in partnership with TLP. Our NWA baseline data, we've been very fortunate over the last 2 or 3 years to see consistent growth based on our NWA data and performance. And we feel as though that has been a major portion, to lead us to the growth we have been able to achieve, but knowing also that we have higher heights that we have to reach to meet the goals within the MyKIP and the partnership agreement. As is done and was mentioned earlier, we do work towards motivating and encouraging our students through assemblies and other processes. And was stated, we also work with Ms. Saylor, who is our TLP math instructional specialist.
For professional learning strategies, our VLC, we got adapted by an EWIMS specialty coach from the state, and she helped us identify students who need additional supports, and we also participated in all district professional development.
When you look at RHS, we were also able this year to create Read 180 classes to support our students with reading, Math 180 to support struggling or at-risk students who are struggling in math. We also were able to create SAT prep courses this year for the first time in years that are specifically targeting students in ELA and math based on a partially proficient analysis from our data coach. So certain students are receiving double doses of math and ELA. We have worked with Wayne Risa in ensuring that our staff understands the expectations within SAT and PSAT, and we've partnered with them on additional professional development. As was stated, we are really analyzing the performance of our new curriculum resource. We've had leadership coaching, EWIMS coach support, and for our math department in particular, they've been able to participate in culturally responsive Mathematics Institute to get those ways to engage our student population as a whole.
And district-wide, we had our instructional leadership routines, our guaranteed and viable curriculum, curriculum binders, and developing common assessments, teacher collaborative routines, our POCs, early warning intervention and monitoring system, EWIMS, and the Title I school strategies. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wirt to review the data.
Thank you. So to measure the outcomes of, or the impact of our strategies, we had to develop several targets for 3 categories of benchmarks. Those benchmarks are state assessments, which is ELA in math for SAT grade 11, NWA growth and grade level expectation for math and reading, and then also process benchmarks, which I'll go over that when we get to our slide for the district. I'm going to share with you the outcomes of those benchmarks, where we scored at. Please take note that this is based on the 2021-2022 year as the baseline that we're measuring. So we're measuring from the end of 2022 to the end of 2024. So to start with the high school, our overall accountability index, the high school met that benchmark. For ELA state assessments, again, this is SAT for grade 11. The high school did not meet the benchmark. For math state assessment, SAT, the high school did not meet that benchmark. So those are the state benchmarks. For our local benchmarks, that's NWA for math and reading. First one is for growth, students meeting their growth targets for fall to spring. For NWEA math, for last year, the high school met that benchmark. For the reading NWEA growth, the high school met that benchmark as well. We're also looking at NWA grade level expectations. Are students performing or growing in grade level performance? So for reading for last year, at the end of the year for spring, 11th graders met that benchmark. So because of the two state assessments not meeting those benchmarks, the high school is off track. And if you look at the table with those categories, you can see in the off track, the bottom, it's the third bullet, met none of the state assessment data benchmarks. That's the reason why the high school is off track at this point. So moving over to RVLC, similar setup. Overall index, RVLC met that benchmark. ELA state assessment, SAT, met the benchmark for that. Math state assessment, SAT benchmark, did not meet that. Math NWA growth, met. Reading NWA growth, met. And with that status, the school is on track. If you look at the top of the table, you need to meet at least a third of those local and state benchmarks to be on track. So with a combination of the high school and RVLC, that gets us into the district as a total partnership district. So this is where our process benchmarks come in. So our PLC implementation, as we measured that, we met that as one of our benchmarks. Instructional leadership routines is a met. Board trainings with MASB is a met. So our total district status is off track with progress. So with the high school being off track, RVLC being on track, and us meeting our process benchmarks, we're off track with progress.
Okay, next, Mr. Petty and Ms. Grish will share with you the next steps for continuous improvement and strategies that have been implemented this year, this school year, leading up to our state assessment that will be coming up in April of 2025.
RHS, as I stated, has implemented the Read 180 program as an intervention for the class of 24-25. We have also targeted a support plan for potentially proficient ELA students, guided by the creation, as I mentioned earlier, the SAT ELA preparation course. We have Study Sync professional development for the entire RHS ELA department, which is in progress. And RHS is participating in the PLC pilot with Wayne Risa. Just looking at our overall data, if we go once again and we look at 23-24, we did see an increase from 22-23 in ELA, SAT scores.
Thank you. This year, we started offering daily reading groups so that students could get a little bit more help in their English classes. We hired an additional teacher to help with our influx of students over the last couple years. And this year, we started setting daily goals with our students so they could pass more classes. As a result of that, our pass rate went from 36% to 54%. So we saw really great improvement with that.
Same with math. We created math intervention classes for our highly at-risk students this year for the first time. We also created a plan for SAT math support preparation course. We purchased for the first time in years as well the Big Ideas Individualized Professional Development Plan for Romulus High School math teachers. And RHS Math Department, as mentioned earlier, has participated in that Tri-County Culturally Responsible Mathematics Leadership Training. And as stated in the previous slide as well, our year-to-date growth did increase in math based on SAT performance for 22-23 and compared to 23-24, but we did not reach the targets set by the state.
Thank you. So math is where we really struggled last year. So what we did this year, in addition to what I already mentioned for literacy, is we had our teachers all take training in Khan Academy. What we found out is that our students may know how to do the math, but decoding what the questions are asking in math is where they really struggled. So we're adding that on this year, and hopefully we'll see better results.
Okay, our next steps for continuous improvement for professional learning. RHS and RVLC will participate in all district-wide professional development, which is based on data and the needs of the school. RHS and RVLC will continue to receive EWIMS coaching, PBIS training, and PLC training. We will continue with district-wide instructional leadership routines, guaranteed and viable curriculum, teacher collaborative routines, which are our PLCs, early warning intervention, and monitoring system. I would also like to add some next steps for the high school. With the StudySync PD, it also included targeted support from Wayne Risa, where they received professional development and training, implementing SAT prep within using the current StudySync materials that they have as well. For RHS in math, some of the next steps are to restructure the Renaissance tutoring program. We currently have a math teacher who is also our department head there, and we plan on restructuring that part of Renaissance to include skill-leveled groups, and the groups will rotate. So the teacher will rotate those groups, so the students will be able to obtain some development in their current skill, as well as the current grade level standards. All right. That concludes our summary. We are accepting questions at this time.
Thank you.
No
Ms.
problem.
Edwards.
Madam President, may I?
Yes.
In your opinion, why are we not meeting the state benchmark at the state level for high school and RVLC? Sorry.
Progress monitoring. We've got to do a better job at looking at the supports and everything that is in place, because we have everything in place, but monitoring that progress as we go.
And who's in charge of monitoring the process? Because we have the resources, we have the team. We have math COSAs, ELA COSAs. I really respectfully don't understand how we are not on target at this point, because when Dr. Gardner came to us, we were on target to get off the partnership, and here we are down the road, and now we're not on target.
Well, I'm going to let Principal Petty explain his progress monitoring procedures to you, but this was the test that was given in the spring of last year, and then the actual benchmark review took place in October.
I guess the question you asked, how are we off? And
The real deal, too. Don't sugarcoat it.
I'll be honest, I've gone to meetings and they told me our data was good, and I've gone to meetings and they told me my data was bad. Honestly, I'm at a point where I really don't know. I have, as I said, examined the MDE website. And, as I said, we definitely did not reach the targets for growth established by MDE for that 18-month period. But at the same time, I saw growth in ELA based on SAT performance. I saw growth in MSTEP based on MSTEP performance. And I saw it with our math SAT performance. I do know, there are a lot of elements within our data that, even as we look at how we got here in the first place, which was, unfortunately wrong data, is looking at what are things we can do to make sure we're analyzing and that we have clean data first and foremost when we're analyzing our student performance.
Madam President, so when you say "they," who are you talking about?
What do you mean by they?
When
Right.
you said "they," you said when they tell you, who was they?
When they,
That was a statement you just made. You said when they tell you that we are at this point and we are.
Well,
When you say "they," are you talking about the team, the TLTP team, or are you talking about the instructors, or who? What do you?
no, I'll say the MDE, when we did this presentation in October, they talked about, the great things that we were doing to the point where they wanted to replicate what was occurring in Romulus. So I do know we did not reach our targets, so I will not, in good conscience, say that the established percentages we should have met, we did meet, and I want 100% of our kids to get to that target. But on the flip side, I will also say I've been in meetings where we have been lauded for our performance and growth in math, SAT performance, and likewise, looking at the consistency in our ELA, SAT performances as well.
Okay, and so where I am with this is that it doesn't just all fall on you. You have a team, and also Ms. Edwards. You worked very closely with the person who you are preceding. So you must have some knowledge and had some conversation and working with the administrators to know also to address why the scores are where they are, because I'm quite sure when you work in a team, you're communicating and you're always knowing you're having those types of issues and conversations. So it's just not the administrator, it's the team, okay? And so
Facts.
what I'm saying here is that we have, you've come before the board, this group, okay, and we've invested, this board has invested the resources, okay, for us to be a lot further than where we are. This is very disturbing, okay? And excuse me, Madam President, and board, but when I saw this, it was ridiculous. Okay, and so it's just not no one person. Okay, and so I'm just letting you know that this is unacceptable. And when you say you have things in place, I'm quite sure, when did you guys get this report?
October,
In October. You got this, what we got today in October.
or we did that presentation in October.
We did the presentation in October.
So you knew we didn't meet back in October? No, so you just got this? Okay, all right. So if you have benchmarkings, this is for Ms. Edwards. In the benchmarking process, you said that there are some things in place that you are going to start, or you should have really initiated something even with the outgoing person. So can you tell us?
Absolutely. So let's kind of go back and kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. So this is data that this assessment was taken in April of last year. And so these are the results of the data from the SAT test last year. Leading into this, looking at last year's data, we improved last year. And I want to be very transparent. The reality of that data that came out in October was from the SAT, we increased by 5 students. We went from 5 students being proficient on the SAT in 2023 to 10 students being proficient on the SAT in April of 2024. So as far as our data, that was the data, that was from the assessment in April. This year, starting the year, we didn't have the results of that data yet, but we still put some things in place. So that's some of the continuous improvement plan and the next steps. Knowing now that moving here, that we received this information, maybe we had so many days to report it to the board. So we received this information. I received the information probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Since then, we've had conversations with Principal Petty, as I just discussed the restructure of the Renaissance tutoring, sitting down with him, seeing what programs in the building are working, how can we support you further, and what his needs are. So we've talked about that. We have also developed a plan to have individualized professional development for his math teachers in the building, and basically meeting each teacher's needs, because we've been doing professional development broad, having them being professionally developed on the curriculum materials. Now each teacher in the math department at the high school has individual needs. So now we're going to individualize those needs so that they can now use that to prepare their students for the SAT and to plan for success.
How often are the students taking common assessments?
So the common assessments are grouped by standards. So they usually fall in between once or twice a quarter. Sometimes they overlap as well.
So it's hard, in my experience, to look and assess data if I'm only testing my students once or twice a quarter. How do I really know where my students are at that time? By the time we get to state testing, we should already know what standards our students are struggling with so that we can start targeting those areas. I think the main thing here is everyone involved, teachers included, wrapping their arms around the data and using that data to drive instruction. Sometimes professional development, you can just sit through the class and check out with the coaching. But when you are face to face with your data, it's you.
Absolutely.
Your back is against, well, I always felt like my back was against the wall when I had
as
to look
well.
at my data, because this is me, this is my report card, this is what I'm delivering to my students. If over half of my class is failing, I'm failing my students because clearly I'm not giving them what they need and giving them the instruction that they need to get them where they want to be. And I feel some type of way. I felt like I'm doing my students a disservice. And at first I was like, man, I don't want to sit here and look at this data. I got stuff to do. Like, I want to get out of here. But once I started wrapping my arms around the data and being real with myself, like, okay, I have to do this because the way that we approach education is literally life or death. And if we just approach it any kind of way, we are foreclosing on our students' future. Not only that, but some of our administrators' future, because this is your report card. You're only as good as your last test score, honestly. So I think I appreciate what you guys do as a team and as a collective, but right now we doing our students a disservice. And I'm not speaking for the board, but just my opinion as someone who's taught before. We got to pick it up.
Absolutely.
We can't pass the buck and say, oh, it's you. No, it's all of us. Literally us, all of us. So
Absolutely. And I do, before they get up to an actual summative assessment, they take interim assessments along the way too. So, and that's just based off of maybe one standard. So they can narrow it down as well to be able to do that cycle back and do some reteaching too. But we have to do a better job at professionally developing our staff members at reviewing their data and how to use that data to make those instructional decisions. That is some of our next steps in our PLCs. That is what they're registered for training this summer as well, to now take those next steps as well, and then work with Principal Petty and the administrative team at the high school for progress monitoring how things are going along the way.
I guess I would like to know how often, I guess I just want to, can you walk me through how the TLP team works? Because I hear a lot of Principal Petty, his team, but I'm looking at it as the TLP team, your curriculum, you're the ones that know what you're doing, so you're going to him with the report like, hey, I had 6 of your teachers. I'm just trying to get a glimpse of
Absolutely.
into your world.
I'm so glad you asked that.
And so just to kind of see how it goes, because it seems like it's some misalignment here. And that's the fracture right there, because the students can't get service right if we can't be right.
Oh, not at all. We all.
No, because this is disheartening to see. We thought we were coming off from what was presented to us. Every time a COSA came across, varsity tutors, we supported. We said, go ahead, because it was looking like what was given to us, this is what we need for our students. And so now I'm in agreement with my teammates. Like, what are we doing? So I would like to know how the TLP team works on a daily basis and how often are you going into the classrooms to see what the teachers are doing? Are they, okay, big ideas as a curriculum. You can have the curriculum and you can read it. Are they doing it with fidelity? And like, what is your schedule? So I'm just, at this point, I think not to be in the weeds, but we need to know a little bit more of what's going on.
Totally understand. So our instructional specialists, they provide targeted coaching in monthly cycles at the high school. So they go in and based off of a conversation with Principal Petty, they look at the needs of all the teachers. And they go in and they develop their cycle based on the needs of the teachers. Many times that may include some very specific support from Wayne Risa. I know we have an ELA consultant at Wayne Risa that works very closely with the teachers as well during some professional development. Throughout the day, they are working side by side, the teachers, coaching the teachers on strategies. They're modeling lessons for the teachers. They're planning with the teachers. They're having follow-up conversations with the teachers. We have Krista Saylor here today who can explain some more about more specifics on what she actually does with the teachers. Would you like to hear from
I
her?
get, because a lot of the thing is like the TOP team, like people getting paid.
Absolutely.
We need results. So like it might, yeah, like is everybody holding their weight on the team, or does the team need to be sliced down some?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can vouch for the team to say everyone is holding their weight currently.
Okay.
So, with our literacy instructional specialist, she's doing the same thing. I'm sorry, Scott. Oh, okay. Scott would like to add as well.
So I'm the data coach of the district, and we know that data is at the heart of everything that we do, all of our decisions that we make. So let me give you a setup of how the data coaching has been functioning this year to support all of our schools, particularly with our high school, RVLC, and our middle school. So every month, we have weekly data meetings that are targeted on specific data points. And those data points are attendance, academic performance, behavior, and EWIMS, Early Warning Intervention Monitoring System. And I'll explain that just a little bit more in detail. So with those monthly meetings every week, we identify students who are struggling, who are showing that they may be having some trouble with their academics, with their attendance, behavior, incidents, and we come up with a plan on how we're going to support those kids to make sure that they stay on track, that they're getting the support that they need, that we know that our data is not getting away from us before it's too much for us to handle. Wendy, Ms. Grish, and Mr. Petty also talked about our EWIMS process, Early Warning Intervention Monitoring System. So that is a state strategy from MDE that we use. It's a research strategy looking at ABCs, attendance, behavior, and course performance. So we do that quarterly. I pull up a list of students based on attendance, behavior, and course performance, ABCs, of which students are showing flags, risk flags. And from that list, then what we do is we go down and we say, how are we going to support this student based on the different flags that we're seeing? How are we going to support the next student? What are we going to do? Are we seeing any trends to where we can create student groups and support students in that way? So a lot of this data is working to help support the things that we're doing in the classroom, the way that our leaders are supporting students. It's a lot to do. We're still working on our EWINS process and refining how we're supporting students. We're limited in staff. I mean, we know that. We know that there's shortage, and so we're trying to do the best that we can to make up for that. But we're looking at every student, trying to understand what is the root cause as to why a student might be getting caught in our EWINS report. So that's the data that goes along with everything that we're doing outside of what the teachers are doing within their instruction, their daily formative assessments, their common assessments, unit assessments, and then their academic performance. So with that, that's how We're supporting our buildings. That's how the TLP is working together to say, what are the decisions that we need to make to go out there into the classrooms and support those teachers?
I mean this with all respect. It honestly seemed like words were just put up there to present. If you know that you have students struggling, it's like leaving somebody out there, you know they need food and water. I'm gonna come get you in 30
In a quarter,
days.
quarterly.
I need to be seeing you weekly.
Oh, this is,
It'll say 30 days. Okay. Because I wrote it down. I thought you said you come.
They do it once a month, they do it weekly. He said they were doing it weekly.
So our EWIMS is a
Every. So we're going in weekly to get the struggling students.
So just to
Okay, because
clarify,
well, making sure
Our-
I get it, so that's why I'm writing
our
it down.
EWIMS process is a quarterly process, but each week we have a designated data meeting.
And then you have the meeting, you know that Darcel and Paris, Portia, Ursula, we're struggling. So what are we doing with those students?
So that's where the team that we have in place figures out what is the next step for those students. So if it's something related to behavior, we're utilizing our PBIS coach, Brittany Pergar. If it's something with attendance, we're relying on our attendance liaisons to support that. With academics, that's where that gets pushed back from the building leaders to the teachers.
You said push back to the teacher, from the building
So-
to the teacher. What are we doing from that point? Now we're pushing it back on the teacher, but are we letting that teacher know that student A and B are struggling in this particular subject? What are we gonna do to help him or her out?
And how often are we having PLCs with the teachers? Is that weekly? Is that monthly? Is that quarterly?
Currently, in our calendar, we have a structure where it allows for 4 2-hour PLCs throughout the school year and 2 3-hour PLCs throughout the school year.
And what's the data from that we're getting? Are we seeing teachers that we like, okay, we need to work with you more? Like what's happening from these meetings?
Within those PLCs, the teachers are using the data from their common assessments, reviewing that data, discussing their instructional strategies, and sharing instructional strategies on the standards that they are currently teaching so that they can develop plans to better support their students during those times. And then Krista Saylor will explain more of what that day-to-day, her day-to-day looks like for her and Ms. Marshall.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Saylor.
Hi. Okay, so what I do is I spend 2 days with the middle school and 2 days with the high school. Dr. Gardner, after the last report that happened in April, she said that she wanted me to focus just on the 11th graders, 10th and 11th graders because of the SAT test. So I started working with Mr. Madison and Miss Payson, and I'd go in their rooms. Actually, I went a step further than just talking to the teachers. I actually work with students. So if you go and talk to the 11th graders that are in pre-calc and in Algebra 2, they'll tell you that I'm in there. And so we get in there and we start working. So the teacher will maybe go over a particular lesson, and then I help them with calculators and help them with the ideas of what we need to work with. And so I work with small groups of students. And then I have a couple of things we've done. We have the Tri-County Culturally Responsive Mathematics Institute, which was a grant. It was 23J, I believe. And they started at the beginning of the school year. The idea was to help the students feel more comfortable in class, find more ways to engage them with strategies, and then give the teachers training on how to do this. I would say the two that we had outside of the school, most of the teachers attended. After that, we've been doing virtual meetings, and maybe 1 or 2 teachers will attend. I have encouraged them to do this. They also received items. This is all the secondary teachers. All the secondary math teachers received items. There was a grant that they can actually order things to their rooms, like a table, lights, all kinds of things to kind of like change the atmosphere. The middle school, they're all excited about it. I've seen all theirs. The high school has ordered, I think 3 of the teachers ordered something to kind of get their kids involved. And then we had Big Ideas come in. And Big Ideas came in, she modeled some lessons. She was showing them how to actually use the curriculum, using the digital platform. She coached them. And then we came through and she gave us feedback, just to kind of tell them what it is that their strengths and their weaknesses were. We had a meeting with Principal Petty. Each time she came in, just kind of working as a team, letting Principal Petty know that we're in there and what's happening. So we've done quite a few things. I don't know how, part of it is instructional. I will tell you that our children are really excited about learning. They want to learn, they want to grow. So they're like trying. They're like, yeah, let's do this, let's try to do this. Let's use this calculator here, yeah, let's use that. I know the teachers feel sometimes that the digital platforms are overwhelming, and one teacher said that he felt like there was big ideas, iExcel, and now Khan Academy. Oh, the other thing that we talked about, Principal Petty and I, was that once we saw that our students were struggling, we were like, well, how about we practice the SAT test more than once? I said, other school districts, the families are paying for SAT prep. They have the money for that. I was like, let's bring it to them. So let's practice this like last year, I think they got to practice it once. So I was like, let's try to practice it 2 times, maybe 3, so that by the time they actually see the SAT, I said, we really need to push that needle. This is what I've been telling the teachers. We've got to push the needle. Okay, we're growing, but we need to get a little bit higher. So I know that he started the SAT prep course, and then they've been working on Khan Academy to try to get the kids to practice more. So that's pretty much what's been happening on my end, working with our teachers. I've seen some growth, definitely. I've seen some different things, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. Look at how you're engaging. And I let them know. I see how you're changing a few things here and there. But I know the children are very interested, and the teachers they want to do a good job. One person said to me, he said, I thought that we were doing okay, then I saw the data, and he said, then I realized, wait a minute, and I was like, so we're trying to push this needle, So that's an update that I can give you as to where I'm coming from. Anybody have a question for me?
Madam President, Mayor, I'm happy to know that we are doing things, continuously to reach, and to address those types of needs. But my question is that it's a known fact that many students have test anxiety. That's a common thing. It's a norm. So, and it's just not a rhymeless thing. It's in generation. And so on and so forth. So, what are we doing and how are we addressing that? I'm quite sure you're aware of that.
Absolutely. So, Ms.
And that could
Taylor?
be an issue. That could be the
Absolutely.
problem. They could, the day-to-day things that you can do, whatever, but
Yes.
when it comes to taking that test,
So,
have a tendency of not,
absolutely, and kids need to practice that
Yeah,
test
so
and the
how-
testing
yeah, so-
strategies and
yeah, those
to
types
see the
of
different
things.
types of questions
while
and
they're taking
everything.
tests, because I know there's some things that
Absolutely.
could be done during.
Yes.
Are we addressing that and then how we're communicating that?
And so Ms. Saylor, Ms. Marshall, and Principal Petty have sat down and they came up with a testing schedule and plan that they've been implementing, which includes the students taking those sample tests, SAT blueprint, and they're getting practice in that area. They've taken some practice tests, and then just the everyday, Ms. Saylor and Ms. Marshall is working with literacy and the math teachers on implementing that everyday practice within the actual math classrooms as well of some of those sample test questions so that the students can get familiar. As Ms. Saylor talked about, there's a particular calculator that they use on the SAT to get ready to prep our students as we go into that April test this year.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I'll jump in on the next curriculum subcommittee meeting and save the rest of my questions, but thank you for the presentation. Any
Thank you.
other, everybody else? All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, next item is the consent agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the March 10th, 2025 consent agenda as presented. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, 1, February 24, 2025 regular board meeting, 2, February 24, 2025 closed session meeting. B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Dr. Maria Gistinger in the amount of $2,776,685.73. And C, approval of the financial statements for February 2025.
Support.
McCarthy got it.
It's been motion by Davis, supported by McCarthy. Any discussion? Roll call.
Davis,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Kamal,
Yes.
Rogers is yes, and Laster.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you, Board. We are now at the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. I'm sure as board members, you know that it was hard for me to sit there and be quiet, but
It was.
very. Rita, I was looking at you thinking about Joe Doolin just now, and I was thinking about chicken salad. You remember that, right? I won't go into it, but I know you know what that was. No, don't, please don't. But you know what, you already know. First, I guess I'll start here with, I had written for the board that I'm extremely proud of the board for the level of questioning. And I don't want to, that's not condescending at all. I'm glad we're at that point that we can ask questions. And the questions need to be tough. They need to be tough. You're going to turn around a district, they need to be tough. And I was just writing some things down. But first, I'll also start with the TLP. Appreciate you. I do. It's hard to get up there. It's hard that when you got to own stuff and it's not you, but you're there now kind of owning it. It's tough. It's tough to be the superintendent when you got to own stuff, even if you don't believe it's you. Okay, I'm just talking about the human nature of things. Okay, want to thank Mr. Petty. It's tough being up there. It's tough when you bring your A game. You're trying to bring your A game to work every day, and then you see results that are very humbling. It's tough. To Ms. Grish, same thing. It's tough. Okay, listen, I echo what Trustee Kennard said. I mean, I'll just say it I was fired up. Okay, that'd be an understatement. Just fired up. I'm just mad. I'm just mad for a lot of reasons, but I'll go into that with you all separately. But one of the things that I wrote down here is, do you have the will to do what is necessary? That's not you. That's me and everybody else. Do we have the will to do it? Do you have the will? When you make tough decisions, do you have the will to do what you need to do because you know you have to do it? And a lot of people just don't have the will. They don't. It's comfortable. And I said to a class today when I was speaking with the fifth graders at WIC, I was so proud of the fifth graders at WIC, and I said that. I was so proud of the level of questioning that kids asked me today. I was just thrilled. But just, I talk about the decisions. I'm not afraid to make a decision, and I will make a decision. I will stand behind it. I own it, period. And to everybody that's standing here, I own this too. Okay, don't ever think that I don't. I own this too. I'm sitting here. I'm not perplexed. I go into the high school once a week. I used to go in twice a week. I have some pretty good, I have some suggestions that I think probably should occur, okay, just in general. And this isn't my report. This is not the update. I'm just still off of this, what I just heard. So I just want you to know that this is not my update. I'll say, and I'm going to own this, I try to do everything that I can. Okay, I hope that the board recognizes that. I think the community recognizes that. I try to do everything for this community. I think there's a degree of apathy and lethargy that's just prevalent. It's just prevalent. I try to fight against it all the time. I'm not apathetic or lethargic in most everything, except this weekend when I had my second shingle shot. That got me. I'm definitely apathetic and lethargic. But that has to end, the apathy and the lethargy. And I will just say it's overall. It's overall. Okay, it's not just, oh, it's the teachers. Oh, it's not that. It's not just the parents. Oh, no, it's not that. It's not just it's a degree of lethargy and apathy. And I think that people get comfortable. I think sometimes people get comfortable with whatever, what you gonna do? okay? Or sometimes I used to hear in other places, we're going to outlast him. He going to leave before we leave. I'm not saying that exists here, but I think people get comfortable in positions, okay? No matter what it is, they get comfortable. Change frightens people, but it doesn't frighten me. I think that's pretty clear, but maybe it isn't. Maybe I have a better opinion on that than others do in terms of that, but I'm not afraid to make a change. I'm not afraid to change things up, shake them up. I do believe that I have a Board of Education that will allow and support me in making whatever decisions I need to make that I feel are in the best. I can explain any decision that I make. I can tell you why I did it. I will not be in isolation in the things that I do. I have a team, a cabinet that I meet with every week. And I will say in my cabinet, we talk about the tough things. We do, because I see them. I see them every day. I'm responsible for what goes on in this district. And in this case, I said, I'm eating it too. Okay, and probably you do in the community as a board member, but I do. People can look at the superintendent. Well, what's he doing? I can say a lot, but that's not for me to discuss right now. But I just think that one of the things that I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks is I feel it's just a degree of apathy and lethargy in the school district, and maybe it's in the community too. So I'm going to continue to fight that, and I'm going to continue to address the things that I need to address. I will talk to the TLP team. I see them. I don't meet with them every week. I do not. Things that I feel I let professionals be the professionals that they have and the expertise that they have. I don't have all the expertise. I don't have all the ideas at all, but I listen. But I also will implement things that I think are important. As I said to students today, I was a teacher for 6 years. May not seem like a lot, but I was successful in my 6 years, I can tell you that. Principal for 15, so I have different ideas, and I've come from different school districts. So I take what I think works in an environment and be willing to try it in another environment. A couple of things that I heard that makes me think that we might want to consider moving forward is, if you ask me what are my next steps, one of the things for me is too much sometimes is too much. Too much is too much. If you have too much, it's too much. You got to focus on a couple of things. When I do evaluations, I can tell you that everybody that gets evaluated by me, I'm going to put the things that I think you're doing well, and I will never give you more than 3 things and where you need to improve. I just say, here's 3 at max. If you can focus on one, then we've accomplished what we needed. I'm not going to try to get you to change the world, but sometimes too much is too much. When Ms. Edwards was talking about, we have IXL and then Khan Academy, and then there was one more, I don't even remember it, because I can only retain 2 things at my age now, not 3. There's been a reduction. Sometimes it's too much. And sometimes you have to almost do like a forensic audit in your own school district to say what is working and what is not. So I'm sitting here looking at this, looking at Judy when I talk about forensic audit. She always want to look at me talking about but I'm like, that's some of the things that I think that we should do. I'm not going to say everything here. We do have the resources. We have all the resources. It never came to you with a messed up budget, never. You've allowed me to do some things to move the district forward, and I appreciate that, and we will continue to do that. But maybe your resources, our resources, are not where they should be going. That's something that I need to sit down and say, hey, kind of like you said, if we have the resources and we're not getting the results, then why are we doing it? Okay. But that also goes back to me saying, listen, change scares folks, but it doesn't change me. I have on here, too, there has to be an ownership of an academic environment. Somebody's got to own it. Somebody's got to own the environment in your district, your school, wherever. Somebody's responsible for owning that academic environment, no matter who it is. Most times it falls on the principal. It just does, regardless of whether you like it or not, you just know that. But I'm just saying, overall, I think everybody has to own the academic environment. Do they? Probably not. Okay. This place ought to be packed right now. This room should be packed. If anybody got the agenda ahead of time, and I don't know, this should be packed in this community, saying, well, how can we help? What's going on and how can we help? That needs to go on. A couple of things, and I'm going to be done with this, and then I'll go to the update. Sorry for your time, but I'm just like, I'm not hot about it, but, you know, I work in an urban environment, whether people say it or not. I do, you know I say it. It's not unlike, this is not a terrible surprise. Working in an urban environment, it just is. You want to go back to my dissertation, black children are behind by the time they get to kindergarten. And it's a lot has to do with what goes on at the home or what doesn't go on the home. I'm not here to indict families, but that's research, and I won an outstanding dissertation and presented in Italy because of that. I understand that. Parental involvement is huge. It doesn't allow teachers off the hook, not at all, at all. But parental involvement has to be something that we focus on with the TLP2, with our high school, with our middle school, with our elementary school. Not all parental involvement is created equal either. Just showing up to an event, that's not going to do it. As I continue to say to parents, and I will say to any parent who has children, you need to monitor what is being brought home by teachers or what isn't. You need to determine what kind of work is going back to school. When it comes back to school, how often is it graded? If you don't grade it, then it's pointless. And I can tell you about research in terms of grading. At certain levels, it matters. At certain levels, it does not. At high school, it does. If you don't get it within 24 hours, then it's pointless. But I'm not here to talk to you about my research and try to show how intelligent I am. I'm not. But I'm just going to talk about leadership, just in terms of that. Being able to flip things. Best teachers need to work with your most deficient kids, not your best kids. If you're a great teacher, you work with the most deficient. Now, how many of us are willing to tell a great teacher, you're going to have to move. I'm going to have to get you to work with the students that need remediation. It's hard to say to a teacher, because you're in this climate, we're scared they're going to leave. I don't care who you are. You're scared they're going to leave. I'm not going to teach those kids. When you get into education, I thought we were in there for all kids. But it does change. It does change. But again, back to the will. Do you have the will to do what is necessary? When you see results like that, are you willing to have a conversation with your best teachers and say, not this year, not next year. Not next year, can't do that. Not going to do that. It's about kids. But it's about the will to do it and to suffer, because when you're a leader and you do things like this, you suffer. You suffer in your school. They may not talk to you. They don't talk to you. There's a whole lot of things that go on when that happens, when you say, I'm going to have to change things. This is not an indictment on Mr. Petty, just so that we're clear. I'm talking about overall. It is not. But do you have the will? And do you, in my case, I definitely have the will. As long as I have a school board that's behind me to say, go do it. Okay, go do it. Because I'm going to do it. The things that I need to do, and that's not flipping a whole school. You don't have to flip a whole school. You just look at a couple of things and say, okay, maybe we had some successes here. When I returned February 2023, I sat at that partnership meeting, and I saw there was a low percentage that the state required us to have. It wasn't even 10%. I'm responsible for the 10%. I know Mr. Petty was sitting with me, and I said, we can't get 10%? All they wanted, was it 1% or 3%? I can't remember. 1%, that's all they wanted. We probably would have made it.
Yep.
Blame me. We would have made it, probably 1%. 1%, that's it? You ought to be mad with me if I didn't say anything. I said, at least we're going to do 10%. So again, I'll sit here and I'll own that. But 1%? You're going to laud yourself for 1%? No, we're not. So I asked for 10%. I didn't think that was much of a problem. But I see that it is. We're not there. So we still have some work to do. Lastly, for everybody here, okay, I went to a small school. I had 140 kids in my graduating class. I was number 13. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'm 10%, top 10%. I was all excited about that. And I was thinking about the kids here, and that's different than me. I had the resources. My father was a doctor. My mom was a teacher. I had every resource possible. I failed the SAT. Twice. They didn't even have a failing score at that point, but I knew that I failed it when I saw it. So I can't tell my parents this. Oh my gosh. It was the hardest test I had ever taken. And I'm telling you that because I had the resources. I took an SAT prep because my parents could afford it. Not my school doing it, thank you, school doing it. My parents paid for me to do it. I just couldn't pass that doggone test. I just couldn't do it. I didn't understand all of those analogies. I'm like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. these analogies. I don't know if you've ever seen the SAT. It is a hard test. And I go back to saying, and I had the resources. My family had the resources. But what I want to say to everybody at this room, that SAT score did not keep me from being successful, period. Period. I did have the parental push behind me. I had the teachers that believed in me. I participated in schools. In activities. I did everything that I possibly could because I knew that SAT score was going to hold me back. I knew it. I still got into 6 out of 7 schools, which I can name today. The one that didn't get me, I'm still wondering why. What they missed? But I need to say that. That still doesn't make me feel good. But I always tell students, don't let that SAT make you feel less than who you are. So that's what I want to just say overall, but I'm not proud. How could I be proud? Because I know that SAT scores will hold kids back, okay? It will, okay? It will. But I want to thank everybody for the presentation. I am fired up, but I will say to this board, you know that I have the will to do what I need to do, and I will do that. So you can send me emails, send me anything you want. Oh, I'll answer them. You ask me what my plan is, I don't know if I'm going to put it on paper, but I'll be glad to share it with you. If you want to have a one-on-one meeting, I'll tell you exactly what I plan to do. Now, that's it. That's not even my update. Okay, let's go to my update, okay? Okay, I said that, right? I mean, we're not trying to rush out of here, right? You want to hear from me? Okay, you got to go. Then I'm going to say what I need to say. Okay, well, I appreciate it. It's daylight savings time. That's going to be hard, okay? Michigan Student Survey, so let's talk about me. You saw, most of you know, I sent something out. I was hot with parents. I said, are you kidding me? I worked with Scott Rourke. We came up with 1/3 of parents filling out a survey? 1/3? And we didn't get that until I reached out. But I do tell principals that, you know what, you should be more important to you, to your families than me. You should be more important. When you make that call, they all should be flocking, not me. But I'm glad that we got 420 or something like that, close to the number. Still not happy. We still, I think, have another week maybe, Scott? Or this is the last week, so I still hope to get that number higher. And I've been meeting with all principals tomorrow. You best believe they're going to hear a lot from me. They're going to be in there for a while. We just say that. But if you can do that, that's fine. So I'm going to go back to lethargy real fast because I hope to make sense. Because you're a board member. You need to understand that what I have to say is very important. Scott Rourke can say, because he gave it to me, I am very disappointed in the number of staff that took that survey. You saw the numbers. I saw the numbers. The number of staff members that took that. So it made me think, apathy and lethargy. You didn't fill out the survey. I'm on parents. I need to be on you. This is about our culture and climate. You need to answer it. You can come after me or whomever. I don't care. Okay, I have great self-esteem and worth. But thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, boss, I appreciate that. But I'm gonna just say that we need to get those numbers up, and as principals tomorrow, I'm going to strongly encourage you that number for you all needs to be 80%. We're not doing any 1/3 number. 80% would be the lowest number that I will accept, because I need to know from the staff what's going on in terms of culture and climate. Let them speak. Okay, so I'm done with that. Let me write that off. Literacy night, I'm going on to the great things now. Literacy night at the middle school, wonderful event. I was there. Trustee Kamal, it was great seeing you there, working with your sister. Appreciate you. So if you can get out to those events, please come out. I attended that. March is Reading Month. I've been at RECC already, and WIC today. WIC was outstanding. And then I'm going to be doing the middle school. And when I'm out there reading, I try to model for teachers too. And I went to a classroom actually last week and modeled for a teacher that is having some issues. But you got to model for people so they can see the level of questions that you ask kids. Sometimes our kids can do better, but they have to be challenged by the questions that they're being asked. That goes back to involvement. What's coming home? Are people just asking you a simple yes, no question? You can't ask a student, do you? It's why, and it's how. Way different. Moving on. What's that? What do you notice? What do you wonder? Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, getting down to the last couple of things. Self-defense program started today. It was great to see the 8 young ladies in there. I've extended it to males. But again, I was talking to students, and I'll let President Lasser talk about that. President Lasser talked about our meeting with 2 students today, together. They asked us to meet, so we did. But there's lethargy in the high school. I'm going to talk about that in terms of students, too. Participation is a hard thing, trying to get them to participate. But it comes down to relationships. It's all about relationships. You can get through apathy and lethargy if you have the relationships with students to demand excellence, to demand participation. And that's something that we have to work on, and Mr. Petty's going to have to work on with the staff about. It's about building relationships and expecting them. Jason Perkins went into the high school and got 30 kids to sign up for golf. 30. Struggling last year. He couldn't get kids, barely. He went in there and he tapped kids. It's about relationships. So some of those things, you know, I'm pretty proud of the self-defense. We still have some kids I'm still trying to get them to see. We'll see. Congratulations to our District 55 champions. I don't know why I'm looking at you. Appreciate it. I'm just saying. So today, that's not shade. Oh, that's your, never mind. I know. I get the, yeah, I get it. But again, that was great to see you at the game. We were fired up. It's good to see that your legacy. No, yet. I do have to thank you. Yes. I do have to thank you because it's important, and I'm not going to take that for granted because you didn't have to be there. So, Regional 14 game today, I'm hoping. It's a tough game, though. It's a tough opponent. That's right, tough opponent, but we good. So I wanted to say that. The RMS student newspaper, you see it? Listen, things are happening here. So I saw this as a couple of typos, and what I would suggest is that the English teacher sit down with the English class and go over this and say, where's Waldo? Can you find him? Can you find him? But this is a teaching moment. I am a teacher. I would say that to the teacher and say, hey, listen, can you find where the typos are? Okay, I expect typos. It's middle school. But can they find them? So thank you to kudos, Ms. Maxwell, for doing this, and the leadership at the middle school for at least having a newspaper. Very important. April 7th, we're going to ask the board for a special board meeting. Our first board meeting is the 14th. April 7th. It's critical. It has to be done that week. Special board meeting to approve the PQ application, which is the preliminary qualification application for the bond. We don't have to do anything else. We just need you to have the special meeting to approve the application from the state. We have to go in front of the state March 30th. Was it 30th? Oh, April 2nd? What did I miss? Right. But I thought today we talked about March. It doesn't matter. It needs to be done. Okay? It needs to be done. No, but April 2nd to the 7th is when we have, that's the window. That's why I know we go in front of the state before that, but the window is, and we got to get it done. So I'm asking you to please, we need this done for the application. I will talk more about the, no, because we have to go in front of the state. We got to do, make a motion to have that board meeting? Yes, you can. But in terms of, you can't approve the application until we get the application. Also, for our non-board members, non-employees, non-board members, I'm going to need a ballot question committee. You have to have a committee because there's only certain things that I can say in my role. It's only certain things that they can say while they're here. So you need a ballot question committee. That's people in the community that you know, well, frankly, that support. Their job is to support, and they can go out and do things that I can't, and that you can't, and that they can't, okay? And they're able to push stuff out that I can't because I cannot use district resources, and I can't say go vote one way or the other. I can't say that, okay? Just so that you know. So we have to find people in the community that maybe you all can tell me, okay? I can be very clear. Taxes will not go up. We have not had a bond since 1999. So taxes are going to shoot down, particularly after July. After July, they're going to shoot down even lower. So that's the good thing. So anybody that tells you, it's going to be more taxes, no, not even close. Not even close. If you're 8.25 mils now or 7 mils now, then we're going to drop down to 4.6? I don't have it in front of me. 4.6 or something like that. With the changes that we make going for a bond that's between 150 and 160 million, 30 years out, putting this district in a good place because you can lose a district in your community. you can lose your district, then your property value means nothing, and you won't be crying over a few mills at that point because your house won't be worth anything. So I'll have that conversation, but start please thinking about it. Anybody that knows somebody in here that you know has a good rapport in the community and has a good feel for people in the community, because from May on, I am going to be super busy pushing what I think that we need to do to get our district where we need to in terms of facilities and structure. And lastly, to our two seniors, the insight was amazing. Insight is amazing, and I feel wonderful as the superintendent that kids feel comfortable enough with me to send me emails and to ask me to come and talk to them. And, in this case, somebody said, Dr. E, I need you as an advocate. Wow, that's huge to hear a student say that they need you as an advocate, so I appreciated it. Love my job, still love it, appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Sorry for extending it. But you can't have me follow something like that and think I'm not going to say something.
And Dr. Edmondson has an action item from Ashley Capital. Can somebody read that?
Madam President and Board, we have a bid authorization for Romulus Community Schools Drinking Fountain. Move that the Board of Education. That's
Drinking fountain.
Action Capital.
I got it.
You go ahead.
Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the temporary construction easement and the water main easement agreements with Ashley Capital as presented. Rationale, to continue our good standing and working relationship with the city of Romulus and the community, as well as Ashley Capital. Budget implications is none. The exhibits are in there, and they gave a beautiful presentation.
Support.
It's been motioned by Rogers, supported by Kennard. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rogers is yes. Kennard.
Yes.
Kamal.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you so much. Next, we have an action item, a bid authorization for RCS drinking fountains under the Great Jason Perkins report.
Madam President and Board, recommended motion, move that the Board of Education authorize administration to seek sealed bids for the purchase of 45 LK bottle filling stations, which is drinking fountains. The rationale is to replace the old unfiltered drinking fountains throughout Romulus Community Schools as required by the Filter First state mandate. All drinking fountains must be filtered by 2026. Seeking bids for this project will allow the district to secure competitive pricing while ensuring compliance with regulatory and safety standards. This will allow the district to assess potential costs and proceed with improvements that will benefit students, staff, and the community. The budget implications is Filter First Hydration Grant, which is 12D Grant 11261-5990-000-000-2665, and the exhibit is in the board packet.
Support.
It's been motioned by Kennard, supported by Davis. I'll give it to you. Any discussion? Roll call.
Kennard.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Kamal.
Yes.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
Rogers. Yes. Motion approves.
Thank you so much.
My job's easy. So this is part of the Filter First initiative, just so you guys know. After we counted up the quantity of drinking fountains, it crossed the bid threshold. So we didn't think we were going to need to go out for bid for this, but because of that bid threshold and following board policy, we now have to go out to bid. Another requirement was prevailing wage for the contractors as part of the grant funding. So that was working with Mark Graham to determine that it was grant funded and prevailing wage is needed. So this will be our third bid, so there'll be a lot of resolutions coming back once these bids come in. 3 bids are coming back for 3 different things. So we'll make sure to do our due diligence and make some great recommendations to the board moving forward on those 3 that are out for bid.
Real quick, you need to make sure you talk about prevailing wages real fast.
Sure.
Oh, she's gonna leave, I saw you look at her, but she's gonna leave before the sun goes down. We'll be good. But go ahead.
So for those of you who don't know, prevailing
Important.
wage is basically a union scale. So because it's grant funded, you can't just call up Joe's Plumbing down the street, who's a non-union company. The prevailing wage stipulates the wage for the folks who would come and install these drinking fountains need to be making a certain wage, called prevailing wage, which is basically union scale, to come in and perform the work. That's what kind of put us above that threshold. That's why we need to go out to bid, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Appreciate it. Now we're at the report of board subcommittees.
I need to schedule our subcommittee. I will reach out to you, Dr. Edwards. Sorry, I'm speaking it on you.
Thank you.
Is it okay? No.
Curriculum.
Curriculum.
All right, thank you. Any other reports? Okay, moving on. So now we are at the report of the board president. I want to send continued prayers to our teammate Debbie Powles, praying for her recovery of what she's going through, so just keeping her in mind. I want to thank Miss Dunn for the hospitality. I did a tour today, so I don't envy your job, because I did a little bit of traveling around Romulus today, and it was not for the weak. I started my day at I need a car allowance. I started my day at RECC, and I read The Recess Queen. It was a hot commodity. They requested the book, and it just flowed on through the day. So I went on from there to Hell Creek. I got a hawk hug. I read to the 1st and 2nd grade class. Recess Queen again won. And then I went to the high school and met with the president and vice president of the senior class, and it was very informative just to hear how passionate students really are, and they are watching adults. Like, when we think that they are not watching and picking up on our energy and us, they are. So it was just good to hear from them and how open and transparent they were. And they gave us some good ideas too. So I'll keep that. Oh, yeah. So they want to have their graduation on the football field. And I know that they have asked and said things, and they were kind of shot down like, no, it's not enough time. But I feel like that they've worked hard for that, and it's something to look into. Graduation is not next month. I know it will be some dynamics to put into play because it will be outside, but we are looking into that, not jumping over Mr. Petty or the administration because I didn't get a chance to talk to him. So we'll go back, but it's something that I told them that we just won't shut down. And so that is something that we are thinking about, having the graduation on the football field, along with also having them have the ability to design their caps, as long as it is school appropriate, no offensive things, for them to be able to show their creativity. So this is just some things and ideas that they have. They also came up with the senior brunch idea. We had to kind of tell them some logistics and ways to do it, but they are trying for their class, and I feel like it's commendable. Instead of just sitting and going through the days till May 31st, they're trying. So I will support them, and I appreciate them reaching out to just tell me what's going on in the school. So it was a good visit. I went to, like I said, Hell Creek as well, and I read to Miss Flinkman's class and Miss Maturin's 2nd grade class. They gave me a shirt. And then I went to WIC. Thank you to Principal Calloway. And then I read to 2 1st grade classes there. So it was a good tour around the district. Our kids well behaved. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting up here on camera. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, because kids, when you just reading a story, they're not going to just sit there. But they were, like, asking questions, engaged. And as I went through all the schools, you could tell that, you know, the building is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it was good to see. I'll be brief so we can get out of here. We have classes at Wayne Risa. If you guys haven't signed up yet, it's still open to take. They have 2 class offerings at Wayne Risa this Saturday. And sending well wishes to the girls basketball team. And thank you, everyone, for coming out. And thank you to the TLP team. It's hard when you have to stand up and, like he said, take ownership. We appreciate what you're doing because you're an important part of the district. But, like, you know, it's just, I'm passionate about it because if we don't get this right, what are we doing up here? So that's just where I'm at with it. But I do appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And that's all that I have. Comments from the board? We'll start with Vice President Davis.
Clock went off. I thought it was time.
Oh, so you were saying
Thought it was
wrap
time
it
to
up.
go.
No.
I thought it was time to go. Sorry.
I'll make sure to do that next meeting.
You just did. You did it this meeting.
Not with an alarm clock. Go ahead, Vice President.
Okay. I guess I just got some good news. So the past 2 weekends, Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association District 12, which covers, I believe, from as west as Ann Arbor and Saline, all the way to Dearborn, up to Novi, downriver. The past 2 weekends, District 12 Band Festival, and the Romulus bands went over to Wayne Memorial High School, and I am proud to announce that the Romulus High School Concert Band received a final rating of 2 excellent. The Romulus Middle School 8th grade band 1 superior, and Romulus High School Symphonic Band a final rating of 1 superior. So they received scores from 3 judges in their concert music. They play 3 pieces in front of them, and afterwards they go into sight reading. So they get brand new piece of music they've never seen before. They've seen all the elements, notes, rhythms, dynamics, all that stuff before, but they haven't seen that piece of music. They have 5 minutes with their director to prepare, and then they go ahead and read the piece down. And the Romulus High School Symphonic Band, for their sight reading, they got a 1 from that judge. So congratulations to Romulus Community Schools Music Department.
Very passionate. Okay. Uh, Treasurer McCarthy.
Eagle Nation. Thank you for coming out. I do want to give a special shout out to Ms. Dunn and her staff. I did enjoy reading to the students early this week. I didn't read a book as cool as you. I read The Day the Crayons Quit, so.
Okay.
But it was a hit. I don't know about the Recess Queen, but I will look it up on Amazon and get it.
In the car.
Okay. I also want to give a special shout out and congratulations to Coach Sydney Williams and the Romulus Lady Eagles. It's still a great day to be an Eagle. I'm extremely proud of Coach Sydney and the young ladies. I still feel a part of the program. I've kept a post on it. And I still bleed maroon and white. And one thing I can say about the young ladies is that they are resilient, and I'm so proud of them just for standing tall and overcoming adversity and to bring that district title back home where it rightfully belongs. Some of the young ladies I coached since they were freshmen, so some of them have 3 district titles under their belt, which is impressive. And that's how you create a pedigree. So very proud of the young ladies. I'm happy to see the program continue and the legacy and tradition continue in good fashion. Last but not least, thank you, TOP team and all the teachers for everything that you do. We could not do a lot of what we do without you. So thank you for the dedication and your hard work day in and day out. McCarthy out.
Thank you, Treasurer McCarthy. Madam Secretary.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank the TOP team for their presentation. I do understand that the information just came out like 2-3 weeks ago, so we do have to kind of give a little bit of grace and grace there too when we're looking at these results, so that we're not just bucking them, but we got to realize that too. I'm from the educational realm, so but we do have some work that we do need to do, and just making sure that our students are getting what they need and our teachers are getting the tools that they need to teach the lesson. But thank you all for coming out. We can happy early birthday to Dr. E.
Okay. All right. Trustee Kennard.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't somebody's birthday coming up? Isn't somebody's birthday coming up? Really? Isn't that you? Hey, well, you made it. But I would like to thank everyone who stayed with us, and also to the TLP team and all of our instructional and the staff and administrators. We do appreciate everything that you guys do. We know that sometimes we got to have that tough conversation, but at the end of the day, we're all one. Okay, and we'll get through this, and I know we can do that. Dr. Edmondson, yeah, we know. When I saw that, I thought of you. I saw you. So, as a matter of fact, I heard you. I heard you loud and clear. But anyway, my sentiments go out to the entire district. Leslie also has concurred with the president about Debbie Kyles. We keep her in our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kennard. Trustee Kamal? Nothing? All right, Adam, I actually have something before you go. Give me one second. I know it may
No, no, no.
Give me one second.
I'm like, y'all sit down and get quiet. Thank you so much. Oh, man. Thank you.
You surprised?
I'm absolutely surprised. I mean, I'm not gonna cry. I do that. Listen, when you get older, though, you will start. You start crying at everything. You do. My dad told me that. I didn't believe it, but I'm there already. But thank you so much. You know, I was thinking seriously just a few minutes ago, like, just what a difference time makes. Where I've been in this seat before, you all know I don't need to go through all that, but just and where I am now and where we are now, just not bickering and fighting and arguing and indicting people and stuff like that. So I thank you for your leadership, and I just thank this board. It's a new board. I thank you so much for everything, and I mean that. Thank you so much for all that. Ow. What is going on here? Thank you. We'll make sure we eat that. The folks here eat this kind of stuff. They eat all that, but but thank you so much. I am honored to be here, and I try to give you everything I have. I try to give this district everything I have, and I will continue to do that. I love this place. I say it all the time. Like I would like to finish my career the way that I'd like to finish it, and I'd like to finish it here. That's how I see it. Like there's a lot of work for me to do, but I'm very well embraced by students. I'm not going to say anybody else. I don't want to put myself out there like that, but just very well embraced by students who are happy to see me and say hello, and I know their names. That means so much to me to be able to talk to a kid named Lonnie today. That kid is brilliant. He was just brilliant. I mean, brilliant. And then there's Nicholas, too. He was pretty good, too. But just brilliant. So we have a lot of brilliance in here. And I'll be frank, I left WIC and I said, we got to keep him. Like, I'm so scared to lose Alani. Like, because that's not what I want people to do. I don't want anybody leaving here because they don't think our district's tight. So they go on over and you take your best talents to some other district. I get fired up over that stuff. And I take total offense, not to parents, but just overall as a teacher, I would take offense. I would tell my kids, you need to go over to the middle school and you can do well there. It doesn't change if we don't change. So we do have to change. So I'm not going to continue on that. I did make a mistake. I said that I was at March's Reading Month for RECC. I was not. I was at Romulus Public Library, taking it on the chin from an 18-month-old kid. He was an 8. What is he doing here? He's 18 months. But it was just cute to see kids there, and that's not my age group. That's not my preferred age group. But it was good to see that we do have a partnership with the city, that our school district does have a partnership with the city, and I will continue to reach out and ask the staff to reach out and the board. So lastly, thank you so much. I will try to enjoy, assuming that I do make it on the birthday. Nothing is taken for granted. But I thank you here, and I just thank you for everything that you've done for me and with me as we try to move the district forward. And everybody have a safe evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Oh, and I just wanted to thank the social media team for putting together the video, and Eve just always goes with my crazy ideas and just helps me out, so I appreciate it. Because like you said, it is, my mom used to always say, it's hard to make it to a birthday, so not wishing nothing, but we want to celebrate you, and we won't be here for your